The Israeli left went bonkers over IDF soldiers singing a Jewish song. As you know, online censorship is growing. It's not about being able to respectfully disagree anymore. It's outright shutting down voices and accounts, and it's affecting us as well. The best way to support our video work is to subscribe to our newsletter on pulseofisrael.com and share our videos. If you are already a subscriber, thank you. This was breaking news across Israeli news outlets last week. It is absolutely ridiculous, yet unfortunately very telling. Last week, a group of religious soldiers in the IDF tank brigade asked permission to sing a Jewish song at the end of their basic training ceremony. That song is not usually sung at the ceremony, but their commanders gave them permission and said yes. This ceremony, which was broadcast live for family and friends to watch, then became a hot news item by left-wing Israeli journalists who were shocked that Jewish soldiers in the IDF were allowed to sing a Jewish song. Why were they shocked? Because the elite left of Jews in Israel do everything they can to weaken Israel as a Jewish state and weaken the Jewish aspect of the IDF, which also includes non-Jewish citizens serving as well. This is basically a story about a normal episode that became a headline news item because of the anti-Jewish agenda of Israel's elite leftists who want God and Judaism ripped out of the DNA of the Jewish state of Israel. This is how the first journalist framed the story in his Twitter post. Quote, around 100 soldiers just finishing basic training in the tank brigade sang the song Ani Ma'amin, or in English, I believe in the coming of the Mashiach, the Messiah, as part of their end of basic training ceremony, all with the approval of their commanders, right? That's horrible. And he continues his tweet. The IDF response to this event, a number of soldiers asked to sing that song. This song is not an official song of the ceremony. The commander of the ceremony gave his permission to the soldiers to sing the song. No soldier was forced to sing the song. End quote from the IDF spokesperson. It is beyond sad that the IDF had to give an official response to this situation at all. Is nothing more normal than for religious Jewish soldiers to sing a Jewish song of faith at a ceremony for the modern Jewish army of Israel? I just want to note that this specific song, Ani Ma'amin, I believe, is a very popular traditional Jewish song which reflects upon one of the core beliefs of Judaism, that one day the Mashiach, the Messiah, will come, no matter how long we have to wait. Just to help understand how central this belief is to Judaism, the famous Jewish rabbi, the Rambam, Rabbi Moses ben Maimon, commonly known as Maimonides, who lived between the years 1138 to 1204, he is the one who wrote this principle as being one of the 13 principles of faith for all Jews. The Rambam, who also happens to be the great codifier of Torah law and Jewish philosophy, includes the belief in the coming of the Messiah, the Mashiach, as one of the 13 fundamental principles of Jewish faith. He refers to these 13 principles of faith as the fundamental truths of our religion and its very foundations, meaning that to be a Jew, one must believe in these foundations of faith. Yet Jewish soldiers singing this song about this fundamental Jewish principle becomes a headline news item across the Israeli media outlets because of our left-wing media establishment that went crazy? Because they are doing everything in their power to tear away God and our Jewish identity from being intertwined with the Jewish state of Israel. Now, to put things into perspective, I actually want to read a Facebook post made by a very well-known non-religious Israeli actor by the name of Shai Golden. Shai wrote up a fantastic and perfect analysis of what this episode is all about. And again, Shai Golden himself is non-religious and part of the cultural elite in Israel. So hearing his analysis from his perspective is very, very powerful. Shai starts tongue-in-cheek like this. Quote, special breaking news. IDF soldiers at a beret ceremony sang of their own free will, "I believe in the coming of the Mashiach, the Messiah." In today's Israel, this is proof that the IDF has been conquered by religious and traditional Jews, and everyone knows that those people are missionaries who are only busy with their religion. They will brainwash our atheist sons, who will then become religious as a result of meeting these religious magicians of persuasion, who are so powerful that as soon as they open up their mouths, our atheist sons will run straight to do religious acts. End quote. Shai then continues with this stinging analysis, and this is now him being serious. That was tongue-in-cheek. Quote, I have some questions and comments. Number one, what is the big fear? Will the religious soldiers steal the innocent atheism from the secular soldiers? If all this God and religious stuff is all one big primitive lie, as the secular like to say, then what are you afraid of? Perhaps your fear comes from a place of fearing that your secular soldiers will meet religious soldiers and connect to their Jewish roots. Maybe the fear is that they will meet religious soldiers and find out that these religious people are great people. I don't know, but in my book, someone who is so afraid of other people is not so sure of himself. Those who are so afraid of religion probably don't believe so much in secularism, because he who truly believes is not afraid. And yes, when you are secular, sometimes you're a little afraid that atheism really is wrong. And then the religious come, and then you have someone to fear, and then you're calm, because you have found an enemy to represent your inner demons. Oh God. Number two, what's the problem with a bunch of sweaty new IDF recruits in the midst of a tearful beret ceremony who raise their spirits by singing a song about the Messiah? What's the problem? Is this religious coercion? What is the fear? Please, those who want to sing to raise their spirits can sing, and those who don't want to sing won't sing. I will only point out that there is a Holy Spirit that manifests itself in some warriors in battle who carry spirituality and faith with them. There are such people, for example, in the Bible. The Maccabim and the Hashmonaim from the Hanukkah holiday story, the armies of King David, King Solomon, Gideon, Yiftach, Miriam and Moses, and with the rebels of the Warsaw Ghetto. They all sung songs like this. Why? Because that's what poetry does. It uplifts the spirit. And if there are soldiers who sing Messiah to uplift their spirit, it is better to let them sing and uplift their spirit than to suppress their spirit and to suppress their fighting spirit. Because soldiers feed on this kind of thing, not just on fulfilling commands. Number three, they say that in the battle trenches, when the bullets fly by, there are no atheists. They say that when the bombs burst and the shells whistle and the screams of the wounded rise, a man suddenly finds God. So to command soldiers to ignore God out of fear of religious coercion is to fail to understand the place of God in a warrior's heart. And it fails to understand that the IDF is the army of the people, the Jewish people. And there are quite a lot of believers in God in the Jewish people. Among them are soldiers. Why should they have to hide that? Why should they be oppressed? Why should they be silent? This is the people's army of all Israel, and most Israelis are excited to sing the Messiah song, much more than are worried about religious coercion. Number four, religious freedom, according to Israel's Bill of Independence and basic law, is the freedom to practice religion and be religious, also in the IDF. Whoever wants to silence religious soldiers offends the principles of Israel's Bill of Independence and basic laws. Jews are allowed religious freedom. And if singing the Messiah song at an army ceremony is religious coercion, then what is secular coercion? Well, I will tell you. Secular coercion is journalists reporting an IDF ceremony where the song Mashiach is sung as religious coercion. The religious phobia and fear of religious people from some secular people undermines the freedom of speech, freedom of existence, and freedom of representation of many Israelis. Number five, I'm a very secular person, and I also believe in God. And anyone who is an enemy of Jews, Judaism and the religion of Israel is also an enemy of mine. Because there is no Israel without Judaism. There is no Israel without Jews. There is no Israel without religious people. And to be honest, in choosing between a secular state that is alienated from its religion, identity, and historical national story, or to be a country where soldiers sing Messiah, I would vote for the second option every day of the year. Number 6, our children are the armies of God, our sons and daughters, and our parents and brothers. They are all part of the army of God. And in the army of God, it is good to have representation and expression for people who love God. Also for secular people, of course. Also for atheists, and for Christians, and for Muslims. But also for the Jews who love God and are not embarrassed for their loving God. For them too. Number 7. And if I return to the big picture, whoever fights the right of IDF soldiers to sing the song Messiah at an IDF ceremony, they do not understand the Israel of our time. They do not understand the social fabric of our country. They do not understand the critical mass of our population that does not speak the language of the cultural elite, or the language spoken in the cafes of the cultural elite in Tel Aviv. They do not understand the real state of Israel, where the numbers of citizens who believe in God far outweigh the number of secular citizens who don't. It's time for Israeli secular people to internalize the reality. We and the religious are here together, stuck together, until this country ends or until it continues forever. One thing is clear. Those who will guarantee our existence here are those warrior soldiers. And if they have a kippah head covering on their heads like this, and God in their hearts, then they need to be applauded. Because with that kippah head covering on their heads, and with God in their hearts, they will keep us all alive. Even the lives of those of us who fear the religious and hate those who believe in God. End quote. All I can say is amen to everything Shai Golden wrote, and a personal thank you to Shai Golden for everything he wrote. He hit the nail on the head about our reality in Israel today, and he hit the nail on the head that with all of our differences, we are all here together as one people, the Jewish people in our homeland, with non-Jews who live in our midst and even serve together with us in the IDF. Yet still, this country of Israel is the Jewish state of Israel. The Israeli Defense Force is the Jewish army of the state of Israel. And we should be proud of our identity, proud of our history, proud of our culture, proud of our religion, and proud of our connection and belief in God. And even if those in our midst don't like that or disagree or don't believe in God, still we are all here together, free to our beliefs. So once again, thank you, Shai Golden. May we all be inspired by his words, and with this reality, and with the fight we all are involved in throughout the world between the anti-God forces trying to take God and our religious beliefs and practices away from the public space where it is so needed for our healthy societies to bring up our children and to bring up our societies regardless of one's religious levels or regardless of one's level of belief in God. God and our religious beliefs are part of the spiritual armor we have to lead good and productive lives and raise our children. So everyone be inspired. Thanks for watching. Signing off from the eternal and ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. This is Avi Yabelo for the Pulse of Israel.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.